Welcome to this webinar. It's entitled Bare Metal to MSPs, the case for Linux and modern infrastructure. It's brought to you and hosted by Obsidian Systems. And we've been around a really, really long time. 30 years ago is when we installed our first Linux, actually, I think on the continent in Africa and in South Africa with a small little innovative company called Nando's. It's been a long journey. And with us today, we have Dion Lottering, and he's been around for almost 20 years with Obsidian Systems. He's our Red Hat engineer and our senior Linux consultant, and is one of the top guys that we absolutely love to put in front of customers. The customers love him. His service is phenomenal. And then we have Fred, who's been around for also a long time in the industry as a Red Hat architect with Red Hat itself. And he came back and joined us in 2023, but he's also one of the guys that were there right from the start. So welcome back. He's held positions as technical manager as well, and he's now heading up our managed services department as the team lead at Obsidian Systems. So it's great to have him rejoin the company. He's looking at some really cool ways of how automation works and is bringing us back into the changing landscape of Linux and managed services. And then we have Martin, who's also been around a long time with Obsidian Systems, is super passionate about people and customers and solving problems. So we're just glad to have him around. He's also our resident satellite expert, Red Hat Satellite, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. So you're probably all wondering, why would we be talking about Linux? Is this just not a given? Is this just something that is become a non-issue in this rapidly moving world of all this exciting stuff that's happening? Well, the one reason I think I chose this topic is because it's not AI.
Something different, yeah.
It's something different. Is it really different? Well, I did a little bit of research, and there's not that much around, definitive numbers of what rules IT. But for sure, at least 75% of what happens in the cloud on web servers and enterprise workloads is Linux these days. And so this is core of our business. It's what we do. It's everything that grounds everything, right? So we're going to have a quick chat to you about that. Please feel free to put any questions in the chat box and we'll answer them as we go. But we're going to keep it nice and casual, and it's going to be a conversation about what we are doing, where we've been, where we've come from, and also what's going to happen and what's changing in the future. So why is Linux still a topic for discussion? I asked these three super passionate geeks about why Linux, not Linux, but Linus Torvalds still does talks. I've been watching a few of these, and yeah, it is still really, really valid for what it is. So I don't know, hop in, guys. Why are you passionate still about Linux?
Because it works. Yeah, I think like that video that I know you watched as well, Angela, where Linus Torvalds talks about kernel updates, and he says that boring is good. I think that's the same for the basis of your infrastructure, the excitement these days and the applications and things that run on top of it. But even though boring is good and stable, it's still important. And I think for that reason, it's still worth chatting about.
So Dion, dealing with this every day, day in, day out, as Fred just mentioned, boring.
Yeah, it's not boring. It's not boring at all.
It's not boring. We've had a little bit of upheaval in the last couple of years.
Linux keeps you up your toes, on your toes. So, yeah, but why Linux? I'm all for the openness, the open source, and everybody knows what the open source means for Linux. And, you can compare it to buying a car. You look at all the bells and whistles and you think, oh, this is cool. But Linux actually makes, you can open the bonnet and you can look into the car and all to the nitty-gritty and you can see the bits there. So that's why I love Linux. You can look beyond the pretty pictures and you can see the bare metal down below, basically. So yeah, I enjoy that about Linux. I read an article the other day about updates. I mean, people are scared to run updates on the other operating system, but because they don't know what is happening. They just please wait while we update your system, and everybody's sitting with bated breath. They're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Linux, you can see this is being updated. That is now the update. This package is updated. So you already know that these 5 package or 7 package or 700 packages is getting updated, and there will not be any surprises with updates breaking or something.
So as a team, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts around all these different kind of flavors of Linux and what's happening around the kind of open source community of some core things like CentOS and the disruption in the marketplace that happened a couple of years ago?
Well, Ubuntu, you have to talk about Ubuntu. It is overall one of the leading distros, Linux distros out there. I got a bit of stats around that, and it's holding around 33.9% of the overall Linux market. But this includes desktop usage as well. So we have to look at that space and not forget about that. There has been some really cool growth generally in the desktop space, which sometimes we overlook, right? But some reports from July 2024 indicated that Linux has reached an all-time high of 4.45% of the desktop space in the market. So yeah, thought let me just throw that in there as well.
That's a fun stat because I think what Obsidian does is they do everything that's Linux. We look after most things that are Linux, and it's the passion that has kept us going for over 30 years, right?
Yeah, when it comes to desktops, we may not be looking after it, but definitely aim to use it for ourselves. And, yeah, there's a lot there as well.
I use Ubuntu for my desktop. It just works.
So there is a inherent fear in people, I think, just individually as users, but perhaps for many people making bigger decisions out there for their business, for their core of what they do in IT that runs everything. And so, why would people not want to run Linux? Is there even an excuse?
Yeah, I think it's the learning curve. There's always a learning curve running a new operating system or something, and your whole world has been exes and .bat files and stuff like that. So you can't just download an application from a vendor and say, okay, now I need to run this on my Ubuntu desktop. I think that is the biggest fear of what am I going to do with day-to-day applications that is not available for Linux. But there is such a big world out there that there is probably 6 different applications for what you want to do in Linux. And some of them is actually, I'm not going to say better.
You can say better.
Yeah, so that's always a thing that you're just willing to change. The willingness to change is a big thing. We've set up a laptop for a couple of people's, and we're putting Ubuntu on there. And some people's like, I don't know how to use this. Other people's like, oh, this is easy, this is nice, this is this. And, so I think the willingness to adopt is a big factor in your willingness to change.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think exactly that, Dion. Like, people tend to want to deploy what they know already, and so they want to deploy what they use on the desktop on the server as well. So it does take a little bit of effort to look at what is really the best tool for the job, and especially on the server area, our experience is that Linux is the best tool for the job there.
yeah, there's a difference between this desktop and the server market, I think. Server, my number one choice for servers is Red Hat. I started with Red Hat and the RPM manager and all that type of things. And that's where 99% of my certifications and knowledge lies, is in Red Hat. But you get used to different Linux flavors, but you always have your first love, which is Red Hat for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I also started with Red Hat. Before it was Enterprise Linux and Fedora. It was just Red Hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a while ago.
So as somebody who's managing a company and has mission critical stuff running, the last place I would want to look, I think, is Fedora, although it's iconic. Very bleeding edge stuff, right? Still bleeding edge. Don't want to be there. What is it that you guys recommend as the best for something mission critical for our clients? And what would that scenario look like?
Yeah, I think definitely Red Hat is a very good option. Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So for me, if your application is important to the business and you're buying support and all of those things for your application, it would be silly to run an unsupported operating system underneath it. And many applications are supported on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, including, for example, Microsoft SQL, which is actually quite popular to run on Linux now, as it gets better performance than running on Windows, because your server doesn't need all the GUI stuff that takes up resources and so on. But yeah, Enterprise Linux, if you have an important application, you want it to be supported throughout. You want from the operating system, the hardware, all the way through to the application itself.
So we're talk about that efficiency and use of what Linux brings to the party as an OS and as something that you should be using, right?
I think.
What does it mean for somebody that's looking after this? What are you guys dealing with every day?
Well, yeah, like Dion said, it's very visible. Like you can really see what's going on. There's never a mystery of what is using my RAM, what is using resources. You can always see exactly what is running, and you can limit things to just run what you need. So you have full control over how your resources are utilized on Linux that you might not have with other OSs.
Well, there is some sort of mystery there. You don't know why is it happening, but there's a treasure trove of information in all the logs and all the running services, and you just have to go and find it. But it's there. It's like a Raiders of the Lost Ark type of deal. You just need to go and find the treasure. But it's there. Sometimes easy to find and sometimes not so easy, but you'll get there.
You just need to know what to grab for.
Yeah.
And in my experience, having to search through logs on the command line is just so fast and efficient compared to having to click your way through multiple logs and then perform searches. And it seems like a simple thing, but in the world of troubleshooting, it really is a time saver when you can do those kind of things on the CLI. That's one of the little things about Linux that I just really love, is the quick access and the quick search capabilities of Linux.
That's pretty awesome. So when you are running Linux in a mission critical system, what is it that Obsidian brings to the party for clients?
Well, like Jan also said, is maybe not everyone has the skills to run Linux on their server. So that's where we come in. We look after many clients' operating systems for them. So look after some of the applications that ship with Linux. So things like database servers, web servers, and so on. And yeah, what we do is we do monitoring to make sure that everything continues to run smoothly. And we also do monthly maintenance. Every month we will check into all the systems, make sure everything is still as it should be. If needed, we can apply patches and updates and things like that on a monthly basis. That varies from customer to customer. We can also do it outside of business hours if downtime should be limited. Downtime is usually very, very little. It's only every now and then that a kernel update gets released that we might need to schedule a reboot or something like that. But yeah, basically we look after the Linux for our customers.
Something that I really appreciate about the ELS offerings out there, especially from Red Hat, is that they accommodate customers who run specific versions of software for various reasons, and that they build their security fixes, enhancements, etc., in as backported updates. So not forcing customers to have to develop where there's very good reasons. And it just makes me think of the South African market. You know, that's where we operate. That's what we look at. Our customer base is situated there. And, I think a lot of the times we have to take into consideration that we need to really look at the budget when we make decisions, and things can get very expensive very quickly. And with that in mind, it's not always possible to just have leading edge or the latest available updates for software. It's not always possible to get that development done in time, just realistically speaking. And for me, that's where I feel like Red Hat creates a safety net where you can get the important security features and fixes to keep things secure, keep it running, keep it up without having to make those drastic financial decisions too quickly. So, yeah, I think our customers really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, just to maybe explain, Red Hat, they don't fix the version, they backport the fix from the higher version to the lower version. So you will still run a 2.4 HTTP, but all the fixes for the latest and greatest HTTP version will be backported to that version. So we get a lot of clients that says, oh, that we ran a vulnerability scanner on our servers and it picked up that you're running an old package. Then we have to show them that the fix for that CVE has been applied in that particular version of the package. So that's also something to keep in mind. But when they do that, they safeguard, like Martin said, that they don't, you don't put up a new ball game out there. You just enhance or bug fix whatever you're running at the moment.
This also is why when you do your vulnerability scanning, you get specific tools that are Red Hat certified. Those ones take these backports into consideration. Alternatively, obviously within the Red Hat portfolio, they have a wider range of management tools that work within this landscape very well, thinking about insights, and that you will always get very accurate reporting on those, but not only the reporting, remediation steps, which could consist of playbooks or the relevant errata update that needs to happen. But yeah, so that's also very useful.
That's a long list of things, Martin, and a lot of balls you're juggling in the air. What has changed in the landscape? What are you using at the moment to manage all these things?
Well, branching out from the insights conversation, so the Red Hat portal, which these days we would refer to as the hybrid console. This is where insights live, various advisors, and you can almost call it a satellite service that is now cloud-based. And the reason why I'm referring to satellite is to answer that question. Red Hat Satellite is basically your management console for your entire Red Hat estate, from managing vulnerabilities, the remediation of that, your config management, playbooks that can be utilized to keep things intact, but also even perform those upgrades from previous major versions to the next major version using Leap or any of those tools, All of this can be executed and managed from satellite. In short, it basically is your lifecycle management tool for Red Hat. And in certain cases, more than just your Red Hat environment. It can manage your Linux environment in terms of certain file repositories, config management capabilities that it has, and a few other things as well. So it does incorporate more than only your Linux, your Red Hat Linux estate, which I think is also important in talking about different distributions and flavors that you will find at customers, to just kind of bring that all into the landscape a little bit as well. So we're always looking forward to seeing more of that in the development pipeline as well. But it's great that some of those features already exist.
Awesome. Dion, we talked a little bit about open source, but you've got some stories of why free can sometimes cost you. Run us through why enterprise and support is critical when you're running mission critical stuff.
Yeah, it's like Fred said, you're running this very expensive application on top of your server or on your operating system. And then some clients try to, pay less for the operating system because all the money went into the application, and they try and get one of the clones. I say clones, but it's the free software that's derived from Red Hat, from RHEL server. So yeah, you can get a copy or a cloned copy of maybe Alma Linux or Rocky Linux from RHEL. But that's like a Formula One team that developed a car, and then another team take over last year's car. And then if something breaks, you have to go back to the original, developer and say, hey, our car is running to the side. What do you want to do? I mean, this is a simplified analogy, but, I would rather just plug into the creator of the original software. And, sometimes if you have an issue, you'll carry up the chain and escalate the call and escalate, and eventually you get to this person who actually developed this software. I had a case once where I ran something up the flagpole, and eventually I was talking to this dude, and while I'm talking to him, I did a info on the package, and I'm like, is that the same person? I mean, and in our environment, it's, it's such a big world, but I mean, they bring it so close in, and you're like, what? This is the same guy. Get starstruck and all that type of things. But yeah, so it's always, like a risk factor that you need to consider. Do you want to run free software and, go onto a forum to find a problem or solve a problem? Or you can just run it up the flagpole and escalate the call, and, they will get it sorted very quickly. I mean, running open source, we all ran the free versions before. And I mean, it's nothing daunting like sitting in a data center 3 o'clock in the morning, hoping that someone answers your call on a forum. Yeah, that's not fun. So, but yeah, there's risk involved. You can do that if you want to be a stunt man. You want to do something like Evil Knievel. But yeah, no, I tend to be on the safer side and just run RHEL. In some cases there is an exception where you can run a Rocky or a Alma or something, and that is probably in your dev work. You don't want to roll out a RHEL for every developer, but you can spin up a Rocky, basically the same type of deal. But in 2 days' time, you're going to kill that server anyway. It's not going to stay in your DC and, run your business. So there's reasons for that. Yeah.
Martin, you looked like you wanted to share something around your experiences and what support actually.
Yes, Angela, I was just thinking in response to what Dion was saying. I love spending hours troubleshooting, a service that isn't operating the way that it should be. But frankly, our customers don't always have the time for us to do that. And to be able, especially in complex environments where the variables are a lot between the hardware, different software components, integrations, networking, and where new problems arise that you can't quickly jump onto insights and see what has been done or the knowledge base, then, and especially because we're talking about mission critical environments and systems, then to be able to pick up the phone, so to speak, and get worldwide expertise into a call, focused into the problem, and even the ability to just jump on and literally have hands on the system to help troubleshoot. And together with a myriad of tools that they make available to get all the right information to them quickly. I'm thinking of SOS reports and various other methods of pulling information out of systems, putting it in front of people who can drill down to the problem very quickly so that uptime on mission critical environments are high and stays high. I mean, that is invaluable. So, and also something that we're very grateful for in our line of work, because the stress factor can very quickly increase in environments like that. And we don't ever want our customers to start losing revenue because of a technical issue.
Yep. So in summary, support is critical, and that 24/7 access that you do get with a Red Hat subscription, wherever that may be, is something that could be saving more money than what you would save not purchasing a subscription. Got it. 100% got it. What are some of the other things that Obsidian does in terms of managed services, Fred, that would differentiate from other managed services out there? What is it that Obsidian is bringing to the table?
Well, in many cases, we are like first line support for our customers. So if anything does go wrong, even though they do run RHEL, they would contact us first. But like Dion said, it's good to be able to escalate to Red Hat, not have to go via any middlemen or anything like that. So yeah, it's that kind of first line support. It's all the monitoring. It's being proactive with doing maintenance and applying updates. We get alerts as well. We have some people on 24/7 standby for some of our customers. So that's something we do as well. If you as a company wanted to have someone available 24/7 to look after a Linux server of yours, that would typically mean employing 3 people so that you can have a rotating schedule of someone always being available. So we take care of that. We have people, my whole team is RHCE certified. So we're all Red Hat certified engineers, which is a very practical exam. It's a very good exam in my opinion. So it proves that if someone can pass that exam, they actually can do what's being asked. It's not just, a knowledge or a kind of like a monkey puzzle exam or anything like that. So all of us are RHCE, and yeah, we have 24/7 support, and we do that for a few customers at a time. So we're able to do that at an affordable rate.
Right. So the expertise is taken care of, the less worry, and I don't have to think about all these remediation issues that you keep that keep us awake at night. It's literally everything's up to you, and
Yeah,
I don't
we
have
look
to
after
worry
it
about it.
exactly. Yeah,
We stay
yeah,
up late. Yeah, we don't sleep.
and we take turns staying up late.
Yeah. So that
Right?
you, the client, can sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love that. The it's obviously changed so much from the physical days of having to get up and out of bed, and thank goodness for this, right, Dion? It's not about going to a physical server anymore. Lots of this is remote, so there's benefit in scaling this as well. Tell me a little bit about how cloud has changed the landscape for you guys as MSP. What are you doing these days?
I don't think it actually changed that much, because the only thing that cloud is someone else's computer, is someone else's server. So the operating system is still the same. It runs on wherever. If it's a physical server in the office or a cloud instance somewhere else, to us it makes no difference. For us, it's Linux running there, and we look after that.
Yeah, I think one thing that cloud has changed is deployment. Like a couple of years ago, I've spent many cold nights in cold server rooms deploying new hardware. So that's one area where it has changed. Once that hardware is deployed, however, then remotely accessing it, it looks the same, whether it's cloud or bare metal or whatever the case is.
I think a little bit around the functions of the servers that we would then take care of, deploy and take care of, has also maybe evolved a little bit. I'm thinking back to the good old days where the customer base that I needed to deal with within Obsidian were a lot of schools, NGOs, small businesses that had whatever hardware they had, and Linux claimed to run on anything, right? So good. We installed it, we managed it, and it in turn would manage the entire network. So we're talking about dial-up connections, ISDN, which was sometimes a little bit tricky to actually configure and get to work, but we did. And then in turn, it would manage, all the devices on the network, DHCP, DNS, and handle all of those kind of things. And even though Linux will always be great at doing that, maybe in a virtualized environment like today, we do see it taking on less of that responsibility, where there are many other tools that could maybe handle that. And now the focus is more on specific, especially public-facing services, web servers, etc. Definitely the base for various applications. I'm thinking also of that Atlassian stack, which big part of our customer base would run, and then underpinned by RHEL, especially if we get our way, but Linux. So yeah, then we're looking at, those kind of different scenarios. So there's been a little bit of a evolution, I think, in function as well.
It's so easy today to hit that deploy button, as you say, remotely anywhere and deploy a server up in the cloud. But I think a lot of the time people forget that if they're running something on there, they've got to be monitoring that as well. As an OS, your infrastructure as a service needs to be monitored and taken care of as well. And that's something I think, because it's not tangible anymore, people tend to, oh, it's kind of like Linux. It just will carry on. But there are some things that are critical that we can't forget. And that's why we're having the discussion today, is that, yeah, you've got to take care of the remediation. You've got to take care of your updates. You have to take care of those things. And if you can't, well, don't worry about it, because we've got your back as well, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. There's lots of different changes as well coming up in the Red Hat space. Fred, tell us what's coming up and changing in our sphere of what and how we're working with Red Hat.
Well, so one thing that we're quite excited about is Obsidian has a long-standing relationship with Red Hat. We've been a premier partner in South Africa for a very long time. And Red Hat have introduced their Certified Cloud and Service Provider program, which Obsidian is. So I'm going to call it CCSP for short from now on. So Obsidian is a CCSP. And what that allows us to do is numerous things. But one of the things that I'm personally excited about is we can sell subscriptions to customers on a month-to-month basis. So previously, customers would have had to commit to 1 or even 3-year subscription, although the 3-year is falling away. So it's now 1-year options, but it's a year at a time. that a customer is basically committing to subscribing to RHEL, to Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So with the CCSP program, we can now provide that as part of our maintenance offering on a month-to-month basis, which makes it much easier for customers to grow and shrink their Linux environments, and just 1 month's notice and change it if they need to.
Right. So once again, a lot more efficiency coming from us and also our partner with Red Hat. That's phenomenal. Love it, because as that marketing person, it sums up everything we're trying to do. We're trying to be a little bit more efficient. We want to scale up in the future, and absolutely we need to be tightening up those budgets in this day and age.
Yes, yeah, and like you say, with cloud, it's so easy to deploy, but you need to think about that operating system support, and now it's just a monthly commitment to get that supported quickly and easily as well.
Right. It's a new generation. I thought about that today when I said 30 years. Probably all these, we've been around for 30 years. Yeah, maybe us that are hitting the 50, the mid-century mark here. Sorry, Dion, I know it's you and me. But I mean, a lot of our RHCAs aren't even past that 30 mark. Right, they're not even 30 years old. They haven't even hit that. Some of our staff on the on our MSP team. So I thought that was something interesting to think about. We've been doing this for so long. It's kind of old hat for us, or old red hat for us.
Yeah.
And we forget about everybody else that is coming in that don't have the history, that don't have the knowledge, that haven't thought about these things. I look at my kids and everything's just a click, and I'm not going, all the stuff that happens behind it, all the things that Martin talks about that people don't think about, it still has to happen. And I love the fact that there's a whole bunch of automation tools that are making these things faster and smarter. But the fact that you guys can look under the hood and know exactly down to a log what's going on, there's a peace of mind, there's a reassurance around that, right? So
absolutely.
First of all, last of all, thank you for making the time out, so that people watch this webinar, they go, oh, these guys are super cool. It's really taking you guys out of your comfort zone of that little green matrix screen that you look at every day, and sharing a bit of your wisdom and knowledge. And we're going to continue to do that as we change with the way we work. So thank you for that and for this webinar. And if you want to know more, or if you want to give our team a shout, please do so. Reach out on our website, or actually just give us a call, send us an email, sales@obsidian.co.za. We're happy to help. And as I say, there's a team of geeks that are looking after everything that you don't have to worry about. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dion. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Angela.